Hi writers, and happy Monday. Welcome to week 2. My kids are on recess right now having their snack, and so it is time for me to record a video for you guys. This is what's going on week 2. I'm just clicking on our unit. We have completed week 1 already, and now we're moving on to jumping into short stories. So this week, if you just look at the snapshot here, we have 2 short stories. We can take it nice and slow. We have Kate Chopin's The Story of an Hour, and then we have Amy Tan's Fish Cheeks. Jumping in, I will click on discussion number 4. So it's really cool that we can share our connection with stories. Stories are a part of our lives. They're always going to be a part of our lives, whether it's a story that you tell in your family or that you've heard for your whole life being told by family, or whether it's even a movie or a show that you like, that's a narrative or a story. And then also the short stories. So think about the short stories that you read when you were in school as well. So our first discussion, we are looking at Chopin's Story of an Hour. We have a link to what's happening in this discussion if you need a little bit more guidance. Some of the videos are older, but hopefully they're helpful for you. We also have a link to the packet that has short stories. This is from last week. And then there's an audio that I found on YouTube. You can also YouTube it and see if you can find an even better one. If you do, feel free to post it here in your reply. After you've read and tattooed or annotated her story, which I highly recommend you do, you can even bust out your journal and take notes. So for those of you who are not sure about how journals work, you should have an actual hard copy physical journal for scribbling, note-taking, brainstorming, all that stuff. That's what I do. And then you should have your digital journal. So your hard copy journal is really for you to process, to use your mind and your writing to process through your ideas. And then your digital journal will be focused on the reading specifically and will be graded, and you'll post it online. So in your journal, what I suggest that you do while you're reading, something that I do pretty much all the time, is really just brainstorming. And so what that looks like here is oftentimes I will do something like a cluster. And when I'm clustering, I am just kind of brainstorming and fleshing out ideas. This helps me process what I'm reading and gain comprehension, but also notice things that maybe I wouldn't notice if I wasn't using writing for thinking. So you can do here, you can do in your journal, you can put Story of an Hour in your journal, and then you can, I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Can you see that? And then you can circle it, and then you can branch off of it, and you can add ideas. So you could put like a quote. You could put, if you're interested in really looking at concepts from story, you can be thinking about tone and setting, and you could be doodling those ideas on your cluster. And you can think about those elements that we learn about story that are significant to us. So it would be like this. Hopefully you guys can see it. And so what I'm looking at is just the cluster of my ideas. So that's something that's super useful and helpful when you're actually note-taking on your story. And I'm just going to log back in. Apparently when I moved my computer, it popped me off. So just going back to our class. I just want to emphasize the importance of using your journal to really brainstorm ideas. I want to show you one of the things that I did when I was composing our class. Let me find it. I have so many journals all over the place. So, I mean, there's all different kinds of journals. You can have a little baby journal. This is my vamping journal from the summer. I went van camping a lot, so I just kind of journaled while I was doing that. A little bit bigger one looks like this. It's a journal that I used as I'm taking these mindful meditative courses, which are super helpful, taking notes about all this new information that is being shared with me. But yeah, so I mean, your journal can look however it looks. I've been experimenting with calligraphy, so I encourage you to just kind of play. When I am getting a course ready, I typically will do something like this. And this is just kind of a cluster of what the course is like. It helps me flesh out ideas and think about the things I want to go over in class. And it's fun. It's a creative piece. You know, teaching is creative and writing is creative, and you can kind of use it to get your thoughts out of your head and onto the page. And you'll be surprised by the glorious things you'll discover. And so, yeah, just wanted to kind of go over the journal just a little bit, make sure it's clear that you should have a paper journal, a composition journal, and you should also have your digital journal. If you're not sure what the digital journal looks like, there's samples on our page for every unit to help you out, to clarify it, to make it crystal clear. And if it's not, feel free to post a question in the discussion board. And I can answer it or someone else can answer it. So hopping back onto our class, going back to the second discussion. The second discussion is the second story. So I'm just going to click back here. So we just looked at Kate Chopin's Story of an Hour. There's a little history too as well on our site, on our discussion board, and you can check that out if you want. And it's right here. It was published in Vogue magazine, which most of us are familiar with, in December of 1894. It almost seems unimaginable, right? That it's really that old. And so we can think about the context in which it was written. This is katechopin.org, the Kate Chopin International Society of Chopin Worshippers and Aficionados. And so you can check out kind of the history and background on that. Yeah, so that will enlighten your interpretation of the story as well. And those of you that decide to write about this story for your essay number 1 option, you'll have a little bit more insight that will help you with your writing. After you've read the story, you're going to hop on the discussion. So again, check out that video. I'm just going to go back home and back to our unit. The second discussion is Amy Tan's Fish Cheeks. So you may or may not be familiar with Amy Tan. I would recommend Googling her and checking her out. I have a video here to help you. The story is also here in PDF, and then we have another digital version of the story, a reading on YouTube. Here is an interview, a little snippet of Amy Tan, so you can get to know her a little bit. And the discussion's similar. You'll be answering that question. That is what's happening for week 2. We are able to kind of scale down and just take our time, have enjoyed the discussions, enjoy the stories, make sure that you're doing your clusters. There's a cluster behind me. And really just playing and having fun and taking notes. Doodle if you're a doodler. Write one word down if it stands out to you. There's just some juicy details in those stories, so pull those out. Think about the concepts of story, character, setting, tone, protagonist, climax, all the stuff that makes stories good, makes you want to like fall into that story and you never forget it. So enjoy week 2. I will see you online.